Welcome to another edition of X-Feed. It's been an unreal weekend and start to the Monday. We've had Friend.tech that's kind of changed what exactly they're doing. We've had some bold claims on the timeline regarding certain prices. We've had collections that have sold off that nobody was expecting for. I don't even know if we can officially say that we're back, but it's felt like we've kind of, some days we've had interesting stories, some days we haven't. This weekend genuinely brought it all. But wanted to start off with Dan Tapiro here, who was given a little bit of a breakdown, but who cares about the top portion of this? Total on-chain activity is through the roof, and addresses are plus 200,000% this year. That means, akin to what we think, the space is actually growing, which is very interesting. Pudgy Penguins also doing a 1,000-day Pengu Club, so it's just a commemorative piece, bringing back the tradition of just liking something, collecting something, not really caring, but also potentially kind of an incentive to hold onto that penguin for 1,000 days. Kind of interesting. On the weekend also, we had 1.78 trillion at one point. I think actually, sorry, this was on Friday, I believe, wiped out of the US stock market in the first week of September. Well, that's like the entirety of the crypto market cap, which is absurd. Right. And then this was an interesting post that was talking about the Forgotten Runes Web3 game, where apparently some of the land from just playing, people were able to get $6,000 to $10,000 from it. So we have these arguments of, are new people going to get into the space? What's going to go on? What's going to be the driver of things? Well, if you have a game that you actually like to play and you can get upwards of 10,000 American dollars for something, that might bring people. It might. I don't know. We'll see. Now, oddly enough, if you were listening to the stream and you had about $6,000-ish, $8,000-ish to spend on a Mythic Axie when we brought it up the other day, apparently you'd be up, or at least potentially. So you can't see the one on the left here, so I got the screen zoomed in, but 4.2 ETH, $9,000. We were highlighting the ones that were going for 8. These are the Mythic Axies. Apparently, people are starting to feel comfortable buying NFTs again. You've probably seen on your timeline the CryptoPunks going for insane amounts. That continues. We'll dive into some of them, but it does very much seem like the markets are feeling more comfortable and getting excited about things. Now, Gio has also made this post that was talking about the Pokemon bubble, and it's very interesting just looking at the kind of blow off top, which is basically the same thing that happened with NFTs, everything around here with the stimulus checks, et cetera, and then everything came crashing down, and then you could see, hey, look, things are rebounding, and similarly to different things within the NFT marketplace. Now, not everything, which we'll get into some specific ones that have caused huge controversy that you might not have heard about yet, but again, very soon. All right, Lacoste. Do you guys remember the alligators from Lacoste, the men's clothing brand? I think they sold cologne, a whole bunch of other things. They decided that they were going to build a Web3 project. I think it did all right at the time, and now I guess they're just completely shutting it down. Now, I don't remember a whole lot about that, but a year ago, we made this short regarding it. Do you love Lacoste? Here's what you didn't know they did. A digital brand kind of recreation that they named Under. If you own one of these Lacoste undercards, they have raffles for holders to get exclusive merchandise, digital twins, and more. They also create missions where you can earn points that give you an overall ranking, and you get a badge at the end of every chapter. The top 200 most engaged receive rewards. Having that card also got you the Emerge crocodile avatars, currently selling for $50. Do you think these live up to the... Okay, so there's your Lacoste breakdown from back then. Also, side note, for anybody that pays attention to audio, you could definitely hear a fan that was going on in the background, so I'm glad that we got the mic cover and changed that up a little bit. But damn, another massive brand that tried to enter Web3 in their own way, completely failing. So when we continue to have these conversations around IP and these established brands within the space trying to offer more of an onboarding type situation, well, there's a reason for that. We are continuing continually seen struggles with this. Starbucks, same thing. Now we have Lacoste, except Lacoste wasn't as, I think, adopted as the Starbucks, so it was a much bigger deal at the time. And Starbucks has done some really, really cool stuff previously with like the program they had set up. But does Lacoste come back through a different audience or means? Potentially. Okay, so Elon Musk was talking about this Department of Government efficiency thing, but the big takeaway for us here on Web3 is the fact that it was a highlight of Doge. And of course, whenever there's a mention of Doge, you have to go to the charts and say, okay, is there actually any kind of reaction? I believe this was on like the 7th that it was posted, and so you can actually see it is rocketed up 6%. Okay, sorry. Some of you might be like, all right, 6% isn't much, but still, regarding the whole meme craze and things in general, when there's a catalyst, that's super interesting. Now, generally, we are still waiting for the liquidity for the entire market, but cool to see that there is still some reactions for people on the speculative side. Now, this is pretty crazy coming out of Roblox when we're talking about the Metaverse and people spending all their time online, as we highlighted on Friday. Some person driving down a sidewalk on their car in Toronto. The Metaverse is the future. Roblox believes that soon 1 billion daily active users will be on the platform, and 10% of all gaming content revenue will flow through the Roblox ecosystem and be distributed within the community of creators. Now, you might not play Roblox, might not really know much about it, but that is insane to claim that you think there'll be a billion, 1 billion daily active users. Yo, VGF, good morning, senor. Have you ever played Roblox? I've never played it. It's probably fun. And apparently it's a game that's got like 100 different worlds, plus everybody can make their own thing, and it's really for everybody, but it does also seem like it's somewhat geared towards a younger audience. I saw this on my timeline, some Chimkens, whatever in the heck that means, but they have these human variants, some other, just highlighting it because it kind of looks like a baby Azuki. We almost have a problem within the space right now that if you try to do anything, even if it like looks all right, you're just going to be kind of like pegged to whatever another collection has that's very similar to that. But 0.01 floor, 15 ETH, 2000. It's on base. What's going on with base? Things are happening. College game day. Somebody brought a CryptoPunk sign. The college game day loves love seeing the spotlight in that fashion. Now, I saw this random post that was on my timeline of some sports card vendor that was at a show. Apparently, they didn't sell any cards, and it just kind of makes me go back and think, okay, well, how much easier it is for things to be online? Look at this table, and you have to go like in your head, right? Okay, so this is a side hobby for this individual. They've gone to different events. They've bought and sold different cards. They've acquired these. Now, for this event, they probably had to pay hundreds to, potentially thousands, depending on how big the event is and how many days it's for. They're saying that they didn't sell anything, so that was basically just like a burn of money. And we'll get into some other things in a second where it depends on like how the player does and all this stuff. It's crazy. VGF, it's geared younger, but the user-generated content tools are crazy and intuitive compared to just about anything else right now. Ooh, okay, cool. Great to hear. Tails, what's going on? Matches feature versus vision well. Roblox Metaverse, but for the younger generation. The younger generation. Listen, I thought everybody stopped having kids. What are we doing for the younger generation if nobody's having kids? That's what the headlines tell me. All right, so this one is if you're here for some spice, baby, get ready because we cooking. So Inhuman did a thread the other day that was talking about a bunch of different games within Web3, and it's gotten some interesting feedback for it. And this is this is crazy. So Andrew Wall talks about how Illuvium has 4 games relating to this tier list that was created, and Inhuman says, haven't played the other 2. I rated the 2 I have played, but as far as I'm concerned, it will free fall into nothingness at this point, which is insane. The tokens wait. See, the only thing that I have to say is like I haven't played the game, so this just feels like kind of like insane. And everybody's looking at the price charts, but we can go to every collection, look at it, and be like, oh my god, it's down horrifically. But I think the one aspect with Illuvium is there was like very little of the token out. There were, again, like the token went up to almost $2,000. No ecosystem can work with that, right? Like, okay, all right, well, we have the arguments about Bitcoin, I get it, but generally speaking, right, like having a coin that's that high at the time when the game wasn't even out was kind of insane. And I feel like we have, and this is a problem with a lot of different collections, is that like the previous highs are probably like just never going to be reached because the token supply, everything else, just it's completely different than what it was before. And even if we get huge stimulus, it could still see some positive action. But to the prices that it was, I don't know if we could say, okay, it's falling into nothingness, per se, but I do feel like we have kind of a weird realm where we have games that have major launches, like global launches, right? With Golden Guardians, Illuvium, etc. It's kind of, you see it on X, socials, whatever, for like 2 to 3 weeks, and then it feels like there's a huge drop-off period. And I don't get how, like, is it just because people aren't interested in the games anymore? Is it because there was like a marketing budget and for whatever reason it's all out there? Like, is the Web3 gaming market just not super strong right now? I don't really know what to think, but also we are super early and I'm completely aware of that. So again, all of this stuff is wait and see. Now, speaking of early, we now have Pixels Online having like genuine weddings going on, which is kind of insane, but also kind of cool at the same time. These are legitimate people. I just didn't bring up the tweet that showed like their photos for it, but kind of interesting nonetheless. So Web3 games, right? We have Yuga that's out and saying they're going to be doing $1 million prize pool. Futureverse saying the 312 million route, which I think is about 6 million. I think Illuvium said that there was $1 million prize pool on one thing. Same with Guild of Guardians. We're having a bunch of different incentives for playing different games out there. I saw for Parallel, if you got like the top player or something, they were incentivized by an extra like $5,000 or $10,000, which was just one of the game devs or something. Anyway, the point being is there is a ton going on within Web3 and prize pools. So let's look for half a second and see what other major games are happening. And for Fortnite, there's going to be $8 million $8 million in prizes up for grabs, which is interesting because again, when you compare that to what's going on within the Web3 realm, again, million plus prize pools is actually kind of close to what's going on here, and Fortnite again being the top dog. So does it ever come into, well, I mean, like, listen, if all these Web3 games are doing close to what Fortnite's doing, why Fortnite can't move on? You have this back and forth, and the gaming industry is ready for a little bit of a shakeup. Dolly, Mr. Tapatali, what's going on, Bruchacho? Okay, Captain Trippy made this huge thread talking about ApeCoin, saying that he thinks it's the alpha, all these crazy things, comparing it to Sol back when it was basically $2, and then it went absolutely nuts. And Spencer, who is connected to Yuga in like different parts of ways, says, I don't want to comment on price action, but what I will say is, as someone who has seen front hand all of the things that are and want to come to ApeChain, including 80 plus Banana Bill applicants, and has seen a community that is built and stayed active through the entire bear, when so many others faded away for good, you all aren't ready for what's to come and how cool it's going to be. So again, I'm not really here to like disagree by any means with these sort of conversations, but it will be interesting when we're looking at the space of what garners attention, what actually gets people to go out and play these games. Because again, there is a lot of free Web3 games out there, but most people aren't going out and trying to experience it for themselves. And then Trippy also adding to this, I had some X targets but deleted from the thread. Let's just say 3 numbers. So he thinks that ApeCoin is going potentially to over $100, which is a massive call if that's the case. Obviously, we'll kind of have to wait and see. Again, for transparency reasons, Trippy was on some of the different special counsel type boards where, I mean, he's admitted to like doubling down on his 8 bags apart from like what he's kind of gotten from those different gigs and whatnot. So obviously incentivized to say as much, but still very interesting having such a bold call where reputations are on the line. Remember when that used to be a thing? Reputations. So the banana bill that was brought up too, I honestly, I don't even know what that was. So let's go over that right quick. And this is for ApeChain for people to, I guess, submit if they want to build on ApeChain. So what is Banana Bill? Banana Bill is here to give apes the opportunity to eat. This isn't a strings-free grant program or a VC equity funding platform. This is over 100 million ApeCoin set aside to fuel commercial agreements and user incentives. Who should apply? Established Web3 companies, capable creatives and collectives, experienced development teams, projects with a proven track record and on-chain component, ready to launch on ApeChain, anyone who is hungry and relates with the ape ethos. And then there's just some other things, what we're looking for, But yeah, so I guess they've had almost 100 applicants for this. So interesting to see what quality is a part of that. But 100 million ApeCoin, I'd say it goes back to $1. It's $100 million. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Now, for anybody that watched the weekend football action, hope you enjoyed. I watched the Bears. I forget who the other team that they faced were. The Tennessee Titans. Holy smokes. Caleb Williams, not great. Chicago defense, not bad. But anyway, for the Panthers, Bryce Young apparently had a horrible outing, and I guess this person bought this card for like $2,000 before the season started and then sold it for like $1,200. And people say NFTs are crazy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And what if all of a sudden this guy stops playing tomorrow? I mean, that's not going to be the case, obviously, but kind of crazy when you look at everybody and figure out where they put the money from. You don't feel as stupid anymore, now do you? Okay, so Friend.tech, one of the big stories of the day, and we still got like another like 20 different stories, so appreciate you guys hanging out here. But Friend.tech creators walked away with $44 million as the protocol shut down. Now, from my understanding, reading some different tweets and whatnot, it didn't actually sound like the protocol was completely shutting down, but the fees that they were taking before are now like no longer, and if people are wanting to build on top of this, they have the opportunity to. Now, for anybody that's listening that has no idea what in the world Friend.tech is, basically it was a blockchain integrated application where you could access different private chat rooms by purchasing keys, and people that had these different chat rooms as owners, every time a key was bought and sold, they got a percent of royalties from that. And there was a point where there were keys for certain individuals that were going for, you know, an ETH, which is like $2,000 to $3,000 plus. And those fees, if you had enough key sales, were significant, right? They really added up super quick. And a lot of people jumped into it. A lot of people also kind of criticized it on the timeline. I remember Coffee Attack. I don't know if you're still watching, good sir, but shout out to you. He was somebody who was super early on that and was like, yo, here's all the thing. And I remember I joined it and all these people were just like buying my key. And I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I've not posted about this. I've not done anything. They're like, oh, for anybody that has like a decent sized following, people just instantly buy off of the rip to get into it. And then I'm like, oh, okay, like this concept is cool. And then you have a private chat room, and I have a bunch of people that have no idea who the hell I am, if they like me, if they hate me, and I need to generate content that they might be interested in. And for a lot of these different chat rooms, it was the, hey, we're going to kind of make calls, there's going to be alpha insights of things, maybe open discussions about whatever, but it did feel kind of weird, you know, when you're doing that and you're like, hey, yeah, come join my chat room, it's $100, and then you can have lifetime access as long as I continue to post in it, right? So it didn't really have any like fail-safe mechanism, so I was a little suspicious after a while of like trying it and whatnot, but kind of crazy that it seems the timeline is just completely discrediting it, but we'll get into a few more tweets here in a moment. So Jesus Martinez talks about let me just read the tweet. You know, the markets are ripe when not even key opinion leaders are tweeting about new token generating events. It's a ghost town, a humble reminder that putting the phone down, getting your life together, making more active income, and investing into safe plays is the alpha. And Nina responded with this, and I kind of agree based off of what we've seen, but quiet before the storm, founders' thoughts on the upcoming market are mainly in consensus. If you know, you know. And again, we saw our McDonald the other day talking about the big brands, the IPs, everything coming in. At the same time, we have massive problems of people, you know, saying, okay, Friend.tech's rugging, okay, Lacoste is rugging. We'll get into another one in a little bit, which is kind of crazy. But still, I genuinely kind of agree with this because we've seen so many takes from very, very prominent individuals. You and I might not have the connections out there to see that, but I think when we do have a lot of people that are leaders in the space and are continuing to do stuff with that sentiment, it is interesting. Okay, a little bit of a bearishness, kind of. Yo, Divine Hypnotoad. If you know, you know. Coinbase App Store ranking in March was number 40, and it right now is number 500. So I remember somebody saying before that if Coinbase is the number one app, it's the top. And so if we've gone down from 40 to 500, does that mean it's the bottom? Maybe. Not enough people are talking about Doodles premiering at the Toronto International Film Festival. It's one of the biggest film festivals in the world. This is highly bullish for Web3 IP, and it shows that entertainment companies born out of NFTs can reach the mainstream and be so much more. So one thing that I was a little bit surprised about this is I saw a decent bit on the timeline of people like at the event, but I don't think I really saw much elsewhere outside of X. I know TIFF's like a really big deal, but I was surprised. I just didn't see it on Facebook. Instagram, none of my friends ended up talking. And I don't mean like Doodles in general. I just mean like the event as a whole. So I thought that was a little weird, but it is massive that Doodles getting the attention that it did. And Julian saying, here's the thing, Doodles isn't going to be the next great entertainment brand. We already are. And again, Julian, I believe, is the CEO of Doodles. Yep. I'm not sure if you all realize how significant the Dollsville and the Doodleverse premiere was. It was the most important in the history of Web3 native IP. So, question, do you guys believe that it was the most important event in the history of Web3 native IP? I'm trying to think of like what other events there even has been. It's not just been within the space. You know what I mean? Like, do we consider Jimmy Fallon with like Paris Hilton historic? I mean, that's the only thing that can come off the mind. So I guess I agree with that. There were heads of the biggest film studios in the world there, the most important people in entertainment, the people that finance every single thing you watch on TV or in theaters. They weren't just watching the film, they were experiencing firsthand what a Web3 community is. So this is, I don't exactly know what it means by experiencing a Web3 community is, unless they're saying that there was like a lot of events and other stuff with it, because it looked like kind of like a bar and a DJ. You know what I mean? Like I'm not exactly sure from that perspective. Hypnotoad definitely got rugged on that Paris Hilton Inner Circle NFT. That and like the 888 dude, those whole Inner Circle things. I still have like 23 of those too. I didn't hear that. Tails, rate cut soon. Big bull run equals next year. Well, what about this year, brother? They told me that they had no idea this is what we were and asked how we did it in such a short amount of time. There were actors from your favorite franchises. They're blown away by what we're seeing, but we are being covered in all the major entertainment press outlets as peer, not an insider. You wanted to know how adoption works. This is it. So very cool to see. And this is what the inside of the stadium looks like. And so this was kind of the thing that like when they're saying the people that were there didn't know like what a Web3 community is like, because for those people that fund all this stuff, do they go to these? Is this a party? Was this the screening? Is this what TIFF looks like? Because I thought TIFF, you sit down, this looks like everybody's on kind of like a standing room partying after. So I have some questions with it, but obviously if I find more content regarding it, I will bring it up. And then CBC News actually did a piece on it. So there was some media coverage here locally.
People walked the pink carpet outside of the Design Exchange on Bay Street for the world premiere of Dullsville and the Doodleverse.
What is the point of art?
For hanging in an office.
An animated film about a guy and his cat trapped in Dullsville, a monotonous existence filled with cubicle workers eating the same old lunch day after day.
Just in a really weird situation.
They're plugged into an alternate reality where imagination holds no bounds. The 19-minute film is directed by Hamilton's Scott Martin, who goes by the alias Burnt Toast. In 2021, he co-founded the company Doodles, which produced and sold a digital art collection worth tens of millions of dollars.
It's been quite the journey, honor of a lifetime, but at the same time, I feel we're just getting started.
I just want you to know that you are
All right, I just got DMCA'd for sure. Damn it.
Helping out in this new venture is super producer and artist Pharrell Williams, who serves as Doodles' chief branding officer.
Young Money, Lil Wayne in the music trap.
And he's not the only hip-hop heavyweight.
You gotta know somebody who knows somebody.
Rapper Lil Wayne lends his voice to the film, as does Coi Leray.
It's different because in a studio you gotta kind of like do different versions of the voice. Like a happy one, a sad one, a mad one, a different one. You gotta kind of stay in character.
The premiere of the film follows music video releases this week from several of the film's voice actors featuring the same style of illustration.
Well, hip-hop's rock and roll. It's honestly where the culture kind of comes from right now, and having hip-hop kind of be the source material for the soundtrack and all the music that's coming out of this it kind of makes it very culturally relevant.
From notebook doodles to making millions to the TIFF red carpet, Martin has some advice for all those kids back at school.
I believe the hardest part is getting started. There's nothing scarier than a blank piece of paper, and just start and keep going.
Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, so really, really well done news piece on that. I didn't actually know what Burnt Toast looked like, so that's cool. Scott Martin, actually know a guy named Scott Martin. That's, I guess, apparently a common name, but still really nice to see that getting more recognition. And again, local news story covering it. Now, people are divesting their investments, at least some of the side of the big crypto players. USDT issuer Tether has acquired a 9.8% stake in Latin America agricultural giant Adeco Agro for $100 million to diversify its investment in the agriculture and food sectors. All right, so listen, crypto's getting their paws and everything else that's not crypto. That is spicy. Niptoad, I think Atari went to TIFF for the premiere. Yeah, I think he did. And I think he had a blast. So something kind of interesting. We'll get into a Web3 card game here in a momentaro, but are we at a point where for card games, it just matters if you like the IP? League of Legends just announcing today that they are launching a trading card game with their IP of their famous characters. Obviously, Pokemon has that. Magic the Gathering has that. Almost every single major IP has started to try to do some kind of variation of a card game at one point. Obviously, within Web3, we have Parallel. We have the VFriend card game. And we'll get to another one in a second. But it is interesting, the market around trading card games continuing to be prevalent. Massive sales continue for CryptoPunks. 300 ETH, $686,000 for this hoodie. CryptoPunk, absolute insanity. Another one, the zombie one, going for 550, 1.2 million for this. Sheesh. Insane. Market officially cranking back, I think. Now, listen, I wanted to go back in time for a second. Do you guys remember when everybody started talking about the Ready Player One being partnered with Featureverse and hitting the mainstream timelines? 7.1 mil on this one. We've had a lot more. There's a little bit of a shill for myself. Scrolling through the comments, it's kind of interesting because I remember one of the first things was like people shilling for like Vivi when they're completely different. But again, everybody's like trying to get their bags. This thread is so convoluted. Like, I understand about 10% of what TF they're even talking about. Again, communication, understanding all this stuff, definitely an interesting spot. They're still trying to push the Metaverse thing. As long as I drive back to the DeLorean, I'm good. It'll be another 50 years before anything close to Ready Player One could happen. Okay. Anything else? We are ready. That's about it. Listen, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens with this. So, we talked about the Friend.tech shutting down, or not, sorry, it's not shutting down, it's revoking the fees. People assume that there's nothing more that's going to be built with it unless there's other people that jump in. But one of the reasons people were so excited for it was that Paradigm was involved. And if you don't know who Paradigm was back then, they're a part of investing in a ton of major things within the space growing through here. We got Blast, they have Blur, Coinbase itself, Cosmos, DYDX, Flashbots, Friend.tech highlighted there. What else do we have? Magic Eden, MoonPay, OpenSea, Optimism, and Parallel. So some pretty significant names that were a part of everything Paradigm. So weird to see that it's kind of like fallen off a cliff a little bit from Friend.tech, and it's also kind of controlling the narrative, right? Because Friend.tech basically made this post and said, hey, we're changing like the fee contract address to like nothing, so that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, the PR around it felt kind of crappy, so I mean, we'll see at some point if they come out and make more statements of it, but again, like the token itself is down kind of significantly. Yo, David Profit, what's going on? Does Root token hold any long-term value? So if you're staking Root, you get a portion of Vortex tokens, and you can unwind Vortex tokens to get kind of a basket of tokens. So the more tokens that are used on the network, there's kind of a fee, just like most of the blockchains that are out there. And so that's a part of it. And basically the growth with that output is based off of the network. There is some Bootstrap rewards right now that give a decent amount of Root for it. But again, a lot of that depends on the network traffic. But in theory, it does, as long as it has adoption. And I appreciate you coming on through. So the trading card game that we just highlighted, well, Pudgy Penguins now jumping in that too. Spencer saying, excited to share this with everyone. What a set of giga chads from across the IP industry, from media to trading card games to Web3. Orange Games is excited to announce our $2 million pre-seed angel round for Vibes, which is the Pudgy trading card game. This funding allows us to bring IP to life through our upcoming trading card game Vibes, featuring the Pudgy Penguins IP. And you can kind of see a bunch of the different names on there. You might recognize some, you might not on others, but kind of cool. But it is also strange at the same time. You have League of Legends doing a trading card game, Pudgy Penguins wanting to jump into it. When does everybody else? When does everybody else? Because all you need is the IP. And arguably what makes me think that we're going to be back more than not is this. So Camelot, which is a decentralized exchange, actually went and bought a Bored Ape to... I guess use as marketing, but also just show their support for ApeCoin and the Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem. Now, for anybody that's not been around in the past, there was a point within the space when apes were going for like insane prices that people bought these that were associated with businesses, made it basically their branding, and tried to use that to garner attention, users. I don't know if it necessarily worked. The thought at the time was that, like, yeah, it worked, but I don't know if that was the case. But this is the first time in probably about 2.5 years that I've seen somebody jump out and do that. Obviously, they might have been going for that banana bill, but we'll see. Okay, so this is super interesting. This is the big one that we wanted to get to. So a while ago, I made a video. So over a year ago, I made a video calling The Grapes Exposed NFTs Earning from Fortnite and Roblox. And basically, I recorded some of the conversations that they had. And if you guys want to go, you can check this out on the YouTube video. And it was them basically saying, hey, we're going to be doing stuff in Roblox. We're going to be doing things in Fortnite. They seem to be very... what's the word? Like, you know how we're like fearful of regulations being called to security, all that stuff. The verbiage they used was like, we don't care. And I was like, oh, that seems like a little bit weird. And the title was more clickbait than everything, because again, I was just giving like general opinions. It wasn't really like a hit piece, but it's funny because you go down like in the comments here, and you can see, thanks for this. Awesome. Buy high, sell low, and now FUD. Okay, if they were concerned with raising floor prices, then why not come out with a product or use case to jump floor prices? It is quite sus. One of the worst reviews I recently have seen. Seems like the author has a personal vendetta. I mean, I was just sharing that it seems a little weird. They're basing their entire Web3 protocol of Fortnite and Web3 or Roblox, and then this other person saying, "How did you expose them?" And I'm like, okay. However, let's look at the announcement as of today. The future of grapes. Good morning, everyone. I understand it has been a quiet few weeks regarding the project. Now, when we're talking about quiet few weeks regarding the project, I mean, let's just go over here. Let's take a quick little gander at what's going on with all this stuff. I can't seem to click. Why can I not click the search button? This is weird. I can't click the search button. Why can I not click the search button? Oh, there. I guess it just pops out. That was my bad. That was kind of weird. So the market cap is 202,000. They randomly launched on base, by the way, when they were supposed to do other ones. Tokens completely obliterated. Nobody talks about it. Nobody cares. But at a point, if you recall, the NFTs that were pre-token generated event at one point went all the way up to 4 ETH, and it didn't make any sense. And I mean, there might have been reasons for such. And sorry, let me make this sure that you guys can actually read what the hell is on the screen. I understand there's been a quiet few weeks regarding the project, and you all been waiting eagerly for some sort of an update. I'm pleased to announce that a passive but passionate investor committed to our shared success has bought out the Grapes project. Oh, that's interesting. This acquisition includes all NFTs, Grape tokens, social channels, and games. To see the latest updates on what has transitioned, please visit our website at Join Grapes. Please note that some of the games like Grape Drop and our Roblox minigame are no longer part of the Grapes ecosystem. Oh, so the thing that you're saying is like a big part of that is no longer part of the ecosystem. No problem. What's next? The acquiring party is committed to resuming regular operations at Grapes and plans to maintain the same strategic trajectory as before. We will also be working on getting more information out in regards to our latest development and new market maker, as the other one, I guess, died. As for me, my next steps are to work with our current community to continue to grow the Grapes IP in Web3, which they don't have a presence. I will keep you all updated as soon as more information becomes available. While I had hoped to inform you of these developments earlier, we were still in the process of transitioning our team into a new company structure. While this transition may have caused some hiccups, most of the management team will continue its operations, and thereby the course of the project would not change. We appreciate your patience, yada, yada, yada. So again, we just got another collection that's like, hey, word out, somebody wants to buy this thing, we have no interest in it, or the team that was originally associated with it was thinking, hey, we could do great numbers with it, and then they did, and now they get to wipe their hands clean with it, which is fine. Listen, we've seen this happen a whole bunch, but it's crazy the amount of shit, including mods and stuff within that community had on day one. And funny looking back at those comments, and they're like, what a negative review. Listen, apparently we were spot on. decent. All right, that's it for this edition of XFeed. Hope you guys like this Monday edition. Tomorrow we're going to be rocking and rolling again. Divine Hypno, Tails, Mr. David Prophet, and VGF. Thank you guys so much for coming through. And of course,